And of course, spawning in the bottom left in the red, he is, for Alpha X, the one, the only, Max Angel. And his opponent here spawning the upper right in the blue, newly returned for Storm Gaming, Gumiho. And here's my question, because Gumiho played Astrea last week, I want to say it was in the round of 32. It was a great match, and he kind of dumpstered Astrea, right? It wasn't all that close. He was playing some really funky stuff, too. He was going, like, I want to say it was double racks. He was going almost TVT openings in the matchup. He was going, like, double gas, barracks, factory into an expand, which, again, that's not something you see in this matchup all that much, but hold that thought here, because that's not what we see here. We see a middle-of-the-map Proxy Reaper. Rather interesting indeed. Generally, if you're going Proxy Reaper like this, you'll put it closer to your opponent's base, or you just don't go for it. And why is that Reaper rallied home? This is not just like an extreme Macarax. Well, we're gonna find out now, because eventually Reapers are gonna get okay. So Factory's gonna get proxied as well here. Reaper's gonna go home. I guess it's to knock down the scout. Because Astrea should have a good idea of what's happening here. Double Gas does say that, okay, look, this is more than just a Macarax. I am doing something else, because the factory should be down by now as well. And unless this is, you know, a hidden factory too, which is far less likely, and even then, Double Gas for that means there will be some significant tech involved. Well, Astrea, he should be a little bit worried here as we do go on into things. So factory, just about done. And the question now is what gets made with it. Astrea, smartly, he's like, okay, I do need this Reaper. I do need to sell it. This is not a Macarax. He did get that one figured out. And now with the Stalker on out, means this Reaper should die one more. Needs 2 more shots. Is it going to get it? Nice use of the grenade, but no, he will be able to get out anyways. Nice shot from Astrea, by the way. He sat on the correct side of the grenade, so he actually got that extra shot off that he might not otherwise have been able to get. Okay, so Proxy Widowmine drops. Rather interesting, as we do have 2 Reapers on the field. Nothing being made out of the factory just yet, but okay, yeah. Astrea needs to scout the high ground, right? Proxy Widowmines without a starport are far different than Proxy Widowmines with a starport, although realistically, he should see this. Okay, the Reaper, the starport will be found on out, but what won't be found is the army that's being made in the main base. This is actually a cure build that he used to bop Zest in the King of Battle qualifiers in the lower bracket when he did eventually qualify off of that. That was back September, October 2020. So, well, it's cool to see Gumiho leaning on into this one. That's a really interesting arm replacement. Not that arm replacement really matters in this game. It's not like Astrea really is ever going to send another scouting probe out at this point. He understands that what he's got to do is defend. If he defends, he wins. If he does not, he loses. Which, you know, might seem self-evident, but in some games you can afford to take a little bit damage. It's not all that committed, whatever. But in this game, right, Gumiho, he is on one base. He will be on one base for the majority of this game. Nice job there from Astrea getting that wall, preventing the Reapers from diving on in, because really, realistically, Astrea doesn't have the army supply to really deal with an attack on 2 sides at the same time. But now, we're going to have the mines go on in, just burrowing on top of things, trying to get on top of these stalkers, I guess. Okay, Probe actually is going to soak a shot. That's actually going to be rather nice indeed. And second Stalker, well, Stalker will take some more shots, but I think it's going to be fine, actually. This should not be the death of Astrea here. Although I think we have another drop going on in. Okay, now the Widowmines will go down. That's nice. More and more Stalkers getting warped on in. The army supply gap is closing, but now there's a tank here, and there is no way that Astrea is ever going to be able to get on top of that tank. And more importantly, the Robo is going down. Right, so there are going to be no immortals here, and these gateways, they're going to be quick, soon to follow. Actually, it doesn't even matter whether there are gateways. The gateways are going to be soon to follow because the pylon's going to go down. And with that being the case, that's a bit of a problem. Now, what we want to see here is Astrea, when he goes to break this, get like honestly, even a hallucination. But get something and send it forward to tank a tank shot before it goes center mass like it's doing right here. But no, Astrea says, I need to hold right here, right now. There's a second tank coming on in. Probe's getting pulled. Not many of them have died just yet. Most of the Stalkers are still doing fairly well. And now that Astrea can break this out, he's in a far better position, as we will see that bunker get canceled as well. Astrea, actually, he's pretty happy here. He does need to worry about this tank, right? He doesn't have that big of an army. But again, the supply gap, it's not really there anymore. 17 supply versus 15. Another warp-in cycle will put Astrea ahead. The only thing he's worried about is the multitudes of tanks. All right, that's the thing you're really scared of. Yes, okay. Now Stark's going to move on forward here, but again, the 2 tanks, you can't really engage on into that. Not without blink, not without charge, not without, say, an immortal or something. But I like what Gumiho's doing here. He does have a natural underway, which, you know, useful, right? That's something you need to make sure you have. And actually, he's going to try to target down the cyber core, but the tanks are not quite in range. They can get the pylon, but they actually can't get on top of the tech here, which is a bit of annoying. But now they can. Okay. And this does put a little bit more of a timer here on Astrea, or, you know, he's just going to rebuild the cyber core, which is suboptimal, but it's going to be fine. The big deal, though, is Gumiho, even as he is barely ahead on supply, he has 3 tanks, and this is not an army that Astrea will be able to fight for quite some time. So what we're going to see here is Astrea is going to lose this gateway. He is going to lose this cyber core, which is fine. Actually, Zealots find their way on into the main base. Was there a warp prism? No, they just ran on into the main base. Nice job there, as they will get a lot of SCVs. SCVs don't fight Zealots all that well at all, and you talk about putting players on timers. Well, you get 12 SCVs off a player that barely even has a natural. Well, that's not great for Gumiho here. So as long as Astrea takes a fairly good fight, and Zealots getting on top of these tanks is going to be rather nice indeed. A shield battery overcharge going down as well. And now it's only tanks on the field. The Marines can't really fight all that well. Nice splits there from Astrea, making sure that even only 1 tank shot hits any given stalker. There we have it. GG Astrea. He takes game 1. And of course, in the bottom left, you're looking at the main base of the red Zerp. Wow. Red Protoss player here. He is, for Alpha X, Astrea. And of course, his opponent spawning in the upper right in the blue. He is, for Storm Gaming, Gumiho. So Gumiho in this game, he's not doing anything crazy, right? He's not proxying a barracks into a Reaper, into kind of a proxy 1-1-1. No. At the very least, he's getting his barracks where it should be. He's got a gas at a decent timing, but no really early second gas. Gumiho is showing a relatively standard build. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to stay standard. Gumiho does some weird stuff. But for the moment, this game is presenting as if it's kind of a standard PvT. Or TVP in this case. And I gotta say, having watched a little bit of the Team Liquid map contest, as much as I understand that the complaints about 4-player maps, I'm really excited to see a little bit more map variability enter into the map pool eventually, assuming that things go as they should. I'm really excited about the map. I forget what it's called, but it kind of looks like it's got a Golden Wall feel. It's kind of got like a better Blackburn feel, and I already am a big fan of Blackburn. It's got some issues, right? It's only got 2 attack paths. It's a little tank favored in the early game, but once the map opens up, it gets really cool. So I'm excited that we're seeing that idea, that Golden Wall introduced in more recent StarCraft meta, and then Blackburn attempted to iterate on, and I don't know exactly how successful it will be. Or it was, but probably not as successful as Golden Wall. And now we're seeing this third map, I forget what it's called, that takes like the best ideas of Golden Wall and the best ideas of Blackburn, and probably makes it even better. So I'm very excited to see how that one plays out over consistently played games, right? Over a ladder season, over tournament season. I didn't see a lot of the TLMC map contest, unfortunately. It happened a lot during the day when I was working, but I'm excited to see these maps get played out in an actual competitive map pool on GSL, on DreamHack Masters, all of that fun stuff. And actually, I'm kind of excited to play games on those maps as well, which was not necessarily true about the maps that were added in this last season. Okay, yep. I should have been talking about the Gumiho build. I'm sorry. We have Gumiho here. He is doing the Gumiho build. It's no one else does this. I don't know if it's good or not. It worked against Astrea the times we've seen it. But, I mean, look, he has 2 Marauders running across the map, just trying to knock down scouting, I guess. They don't have concussive shells, by the way. These are just 2 defensive Marauders in the early game. to deal with things like stalkers or, you know, any sort of early aggression. I don't know how good it is, but it works for Gumiho. So we're going to see just how well that one happens. There's a couple additional barracks getting added on in, as well as, of course, well, Tech Lab on the factory and Medivacs going on the way. So it's going to be a 3 Widowmine drop behind this as Astrea now decides to take his third base behind the Blink. I believe this is, okay, 2-gate Blink. Yeah, that makes sense. So a lot of this game really hinges upon how much damage the Gumiho can get done with his aggression. Because, I mean, he has committed a little bit. Well, not a little bit, but he has committed a little bit more to early game aggression than the average Terran does, right? Getting those Marauders going, I want to say up to 3 Widowmines instead of 2. Oh, no, it actually was 2 Widowmines. So there goes my narrative. But anyways, this will get scattered on out here. I don't expect this to get too much damage done. Astrea will be in position for this. And yeah, Blink's not done yet, so he's not going to be able to do the whole I'm hiding in the fog and then you show up and I blink on top of you idea that we see Protoss players do. But still, it's going to be a good enough job here that that Gumiho probably should not be able to get anything done unless he's able to distract Astrea in some way. Always possible. But, you know, we're just going to have to find out here. Is now, well, charge is underway as Blink is now done. 4th base, it's done here. Astrea is going to start to finish that one out. And I guess the next timer we're going to see Gumiho go for is this +1 stim combat shield timing that is so popular. And, you know, Gumiho, despite his build being a little bit different, spending that gas early on Marauders, all that fun stuff, he's going to hit that timing just about the same time that your standard Terran would do, right? So right around 7 minutes, 6:37 minutes, get your 3rd base after that. So at the end of the day, as weird as Gumiho's builds are, you kind of get to the same result. It's from a different path, but at the end of the day, as long as you have a big army, as long as you can take your 3rd base like 6:30, as long as you can start to get some damage done on the Protoss player, well, it's going to work out for you. And I actually like this from Astrea. Notice he is not going for a Robo-Bay. He's not doing anything like that, no. Oh, Astrea will be able to get on top of this, and knocking down this Tech Lab is actually really nice here. Notice the body blocking. Oh, he's gonna get it. Astrea, what a cool move. He notice how he, oh wait, no, he does not get stim. Okay, but notice how he moved his Starkers in such a way that the SCVs really couldn't find their way on in. They really were not able to go and get any sort of surface area on that Tech Lab, and that meant that the combat shields did go down, and I believe the 2nd Tech Lab died as well. So if you want combat shields, well, Gumiho, it's going to take you a good bit of time. Now, the downside here is it looks like the Widowmine drop finally found its way on in, and 7 workers died, and Gumiho was like, okay, well, I got 7 workers. I can back up for the moment. The Tech Lab is not the end of the world, but I would like to have it, and because I found some damage, I am going to be very happy indeed. And Gumiho, by the way, he will get this observer here. He has always been known for just this tremendous ability to find observers on the map. He's got really keen eyes. It's really cool to see because I certainly don't pick up that nearly as much as he does. But he will get that observer. He will deny Astrea's vision on the map. So now Astrea doesn't have the best idea about when Gumiho is opting to take his 3rd base. I mean, he's going to assume that this is happening now, but StarCraft is variable enough that if you make an assumption like that, sometimes you will get punished for it. You're like, my opponent's expanding, but really he's just adding 2 more barracks and all-inning. Anyway, we do have this push coming on in here now. 1 tank. It is 4 Widowmines, and that does make it really difficult to get on top of these tanks. And on top of that, well, Storm is not done. It's just about 15-20 seconds, and Irisdell's getting on top of things. Nice Widowmine shots, knocking down so many of them, but the tank does go down. And now really it's a question of whether Astrea can get on top of this army. His drops finding its way on into the main base as well. Starks are going to have to take this fight because, well, there's nothing else. And you know what? I think there's going to be enough. It is doing a really good job of knocking all these Dortosis pylons down. But Astrea, he only loses 5 workers. He's mostly fine. Of course, he does have to deal with these Widowmines. And because the armory is done, this just seems to be something that Gumiho really enjoys. Because this armory is done, these Widowmines will be able to rearm. And that's just annoying, right? There needs to be an observer out and the Stalkers will be able to kill that down. But the observer's not out yet. And this does mean that the army of... okay, there is an observer now. Never mind. But this does mean the army of Gumiho finds its way on into this 3rd base here. Stems on into the mineral line. Now, nice job milking some friendly fire out of that. Now, okay, we're going to have some Storm drops coming on in. It won't get anything, and it will reveal Storm. But Astrea here, for the moment, he will be absolutely fine. Only losing 4 more workers. All right, so now Gumiho, he does have his 4th base under. I'm sorry, that's a Ghost Academy. But he does, of course, have his +2 armor underway. So we wouldn't mind drops finding their way on into the 3rd base and the natural. Straight, nice pull on the 3rd base. A natural, okay, natural is not going to get anything, actually, as the probe does find its way on into the gas geyser. But again, Gumiho just doing a very good job of denying, delaying, messing with the economy of Astrea in this game. Just making it a little bit harder for him to keep building up. In the meantime, of course, Gumiho does have a 2 upgrade lead. He does have his eBay up. Well, he has his armory done, so +2 attack is underway. Does he have 2 eBays? No, he does not. He's only on 1. But anyways, okay, now Zell's going to look to charge on in here, and the storm drops are what's going to make this push possible, or it's not. Those storms are going to be very nice indeed. Some Zealots will find the mineral line as the Archons are starting to go on down here. Nice splits here from Gumiho. He's going to take the army fight, but is the damage to the economy worthwhile? Is it going to be enough here? 20 workers is a lot. And Astrea does have warpins behind this. He will have more Archons going on, and this Archon should, yeah, this Archon's just going to die. A nice job from Astrea trying to make sure things stay alive, but no, that's not going to work on out. Of course, behind this, though, Astrea does have his 4th base halfway done. He is now up 12 workers. He has equalized the economic damage that he's taken early on, and he's not that far behind in supply. He is behind, and he does have to worry about the ghosts that are now out on the field. It will make these High Templar far less impactful. But that's another way of saying this game is kind of effectively even. Right, Gumiho does have a supply lead, army supply lead, but that's what's expected at this point in the game. And he's down 8 workers. Again, that's just about what's expected here. And now Astrea finally, he does have this forge. He's getting a 2nd forge underway as well. But because of Chronos, he's actually able to catch up in some semblance of fashion to the upgrades that Gumiho has. He does have +1. He's only down 1 upgrade now, and he should be able to chrono this out enough that he will eventually only be down 1 upgrade. Well, even once +2 is done. But now Gumiho, he's going to move on in here, and this is 2 Liberators. Liberators are going to make life rather difficult indeed. Zealot's trying to get on top of these Widow Mines. Widow Mines are going to be dragged back onto the army, but that's going to be a nice storm here. Not enough to really do much yet, but it will soften the army up. And now we just have Astrea waiting for the time to make sure he can get the fight he wants. He's just going to look to target down the Ghost as much as he can. Nice job there. And Storm's just on top of this army, but there's enough healing that, honestly, these Marauders, they're just kind of tanking on through it. But now we're at this point, of course, with shield battery overcharge, that the Stalkers have already been all healed up. Flank getting set on up here by Astrea. Also, as he feedbacks the Ghost, that's really nice. The goal here, of course, is if you feedback the Ghost, they cannot EMP all of your army. And that just makes it a lot easier for you to take that fight. You have more shields, you have energy on your High Templar. All of that fun stuff. So what we have here is a good old-fashioned standoff. But I do like the attempted the storm drops here. They're finding value, and that's really all that matters. And more importantly here, the storms that well, actually they will get 1 Widow Mine, but 1 storm does not get 1 Widow Mine. It gets very close. So we do see, of course, just see storms as they come on up here, moving on forward. Both players just kind of playing the whole position game. At least Astrea is flicking him backwards as he needs to, but not all that concerned with the push right now. That being said, of course, with these rocks getting taken on down, it looks like the Zealot's going to be moved off of hold position, just trying to maybe bait out some Widow Mine shots, but those will be unsuccessful. Astrea, though, the longer this goes, the better his supply gap is. And now with Immortals here, Storm's on top of a large portion of this army. Really nice job there from Astrea, just doing what he can to force his opponent back. Because again, while this side of the map is important, right? Keeping the right side, keeping this 3rd base alive is incredibly important. It's not that big of a deal because there's a 4th base here. Stalkers are going to look to blink on forward, try to take down as many Widow Mines as they can. Not exactly sure what caused that on the backside, but nice friendly fire going on in. Archon just avoiding everything. We have Liberators getting targeted on down. Storms are rather nice, but it doesn't look like it's enough here. Astrea, he's taking this fight just through a liberation zone into a concave, into all these Widow Mines, and he doesn't have storms anymore. He does not have the splash damage that he needs to take this fight. Now Gumiho, he is stimming on in. There's just not enough damage here from Astrea, even with shield battery overcharge. There's not enough health in this army as well. It's just a couple stars. We're going to have 1 more storm finding its way on in. It's going to knock down some of these Marauders. But these storms that have looked so good for Astrea, they are lacking in this game as his 67 army supply to 27 here. The rally of Gumiho finding its way on in. It is, of course, 2-1 to 2-0, +3 attack underway. And with the EMPs laying on top of his entire army, Astrea is struggling to make this hold happen. I mean, the army in the front is not all that big, right? The rally is just kind of going on in, but the Immortals are going down, the army's going down, Liberator zones getting set up on the reinforcement points. And now it's just all about these Stalkers, if they can find what they need to make this all happen. And I am not convinced that they will be, as EMP is going to land on a decent amount of these Stalkers once again. Ghost fighting strong, of course. Well, they're not armored, so they don't take bonus damage there from the Stalkers. Widowmines are going to burrow on in. And now Astrea is in a corner. No one puts Baby in a corner. But apparently Gumiho does to Astrea because, well, Astrea is an angel, not a baby. Let's stop. This is a bad metaphor. Point being, Astrea will lose his third base, and considering the supply he's at, yeah, that's just going to be a GG Gumiho in the long game. He takes game 2. So the question now, right, as we get on into this game, is how does Astrea respond to the particular brand of aggression that Gumiho brings to the table? Things have worked out, right? He has been able to get stuff done, but he does end up dying. He does die to it at the end of the day. Gumiho was really good at finding those angles, getting these double area denial pushes going out, triple area denial pushes up actually with the Widow Mines and the tanks and the Liberators, all complementing each other and just making it so damn difficult for Astrea to really take an engagement. I think the answer is maybe to go, when you see this happening, is you go on into Disruptors, and then you can start to actually clear away the tanks and start to actually clear away the Widow Mines before you look to take a fight. I also don't really like how Astrea is choosing to take these fights. Now, granted, when they're big army battles, it matters less, but we saw this happen in game 1 as well, even though he did win that game, where he doesn't actually soak tank shots, right? He'll move his entire army in at once, and when you gotta move through a choke, right? It's, as Gumiho has been abusing this entire series, you don't want your entire army to go at once, right? What you do is you send one Stalker forward or one Zealot forward, whatever. Even an illusion doesn't really matter. But you send that one forward first with the army following outside of splash range behind, and that first unit, it tanks the tank shot. And well, tanking the tank shot does mean that you actually are able to take a lot less damage over the course of the engagement, because once you get through the choke, you can spread on out again. Your Stalkers will take less damage, and you're pretty fine. So now this the Hellion will find its way on in. It's going to take about half health, and realistically, it's not going to get any workers. But hey, it's a good scout. And we'll see that this is a Twilight opening from Astrea, I believe. And I mean, that's about all he needs to know, just really. He knows, like, okay, well, I see how much gas you have. See, it's a Twilight opening. I see that there's actually something researching on the Twilight, so I'm pretty sure this isn't DTs. I don't have to worry about really saving scans for that. No, Astrea making a bit of a mistake here. That Adept was not supposed to get not canceled. That Adept was not supposed to complete on into the ramp. It's just not going to work. But now, okay, so Banshee's here. We have one. Second one underway as the third base is coming here from Gumiho, and this is what Gumiho did to Astrea in game number 2 of last week as well. And it got a lot of damage. It got like 12 workers or something. It got a lot of damage done, and actually mattered in the entire game, because I think it eventually ended up winning the game, because Astrea went to base trade, and the Banshees in the sky knocked down a lot of units that did not have Stalkers covering them, because again, when base trades happen, things get a little bit weird. So with the Banshees flying on in, Blink done as well. I mean, this should be the extent of things for now. Only 2 probes. But okay, Cloak will finish on up. And there's no detection just yet. Actually, there is a gap here on the right-hand side of that mineral line that Gumiho will be able to get damage done on in. But now the Stalkers, they're going to find a position here in the front. But with these 2 tanks, it's not going to be all that easy. Stalkers just blinking on backwards, doing the damage they can to the command center, which is useful, right? I don't think they're going to be able to cancel it. If they could get on top of that STV, that would be really nice. Oh, okay, he gets the Banshee too. Nice job there. And do we see him blink on top of this? I don't think. Oh, he does. Okay. Yeah, wait. Is he going to get this base? Is Astrea going to be able to knock this third base down? He does. Wow, that's a lot more damage than I expected out of these Stalkers. And there we go. The blink and the recall. We really shouldn't see too much of them. More go down. 2 more Stalkers go down. I think a grand total of 5 Stalkers have died. But unless Gumiho is able to kill Astrea right now, Astrea is infinitely happy with that trade. He got the third base. He's like, yeah. You wanted to expand at 550, now you don't get to, and it's not like you have +1 underway behind this. Not like you have combat shields. You got stim, sure, but that's going to be a 730 stim timing, not a 630. And there's not a lot of tech behind that. So now Gumiho just has to resign himself to being behind in this game. And again, this is not the type of game where Astrea can say, okay, well, I did damage. I got to be really worried about a counterattack. I can't really be too greedy. he got a decent amount of the aggressive options from Gumiho as well. And on top of that, these stalkers, they're still a presence on the map. They can still find damage. So Gumiho, again, lacking the tech to make any aggression happen, lacking the full army to really make too much aggression happening, and lacking the economy to just kind of sit back in an economic game. Astrea hasn't been in this damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. If Gumiho moves out, most likely that push will get smacked aside. Storm is halfway done. Charge as well. But if he sits back, he's going to resign himself to pretty much probably being a 4-base, a 3-base Terran, eventually to a 4-base Protoss. Being maybe even a 2-base Terran to a 4-base Protoss, depending on how quickly Astrea decides to expand versus how quickly Astrea decides to get aggressive. And it looks like with the addition of a lot more gates here, going up to a grand total of 10 gates, no, 8 gates. Okay, well, 8 gates are just kind of the standard amount that you get when you have 3 bases and when you're going for this style. But Storm is now done. And I'm almost expecting to see storm drops coming on in from Astrea, just considering where the warp prism is and considering the fact that he didn't really warp on in anything with it all that much. Okay, no, it's just going to be Zealots. So now Gumiho, he will attempt to take that 3rd base here. And Stalkers, how much damage did they get? They got some Marines and unfortunately not quite able to target that tank down. But now Gumiho does have his 3rd base. It's 8 minutes. What I do like here, though, is that he understands just how far behind he is. He understands he can't really take a straight-up fight. He understands where the Stalkers are in this game. So that means that he has to be worried about drops, right? If there's like a bunch of Stalkers keeping you at the front, if your opponent has a really good ability to make your army reposition just because they're ahead in supply or something, well, it makes sense to be expecting a drop on the opposite side of the map from where their army is. So that's what Astrea is going for here as he blinks on forward, knocks down one SCV, delays the gas geyser, and there's a lot of storms here for Astrea. So he's just going to drop a bunch of storms on these SCVs, not really getting a lot done. But now he does have warp in potential, as he will find one missile turret, but he will be able to get on past that here. A little bit of hull damage onto this warp prism, but well, the Zealots dropping on in, and there is no anti-air here. I mean, the Marines found it, but they're not there in time. So a bunch of units are going on down, and what does this trigger Gumiho to do? He says, look, I can't hold my base. That's fine. That +1 will finish, by the way, as well. Oh, actually, 1-1 will finish, excuse me. So Gumiho, he's just going to look to cancel the 4th base of his opponent. He's like, yep, I cannot defend this army, but I can attack, right? And he will be extremely successful there. The 4th base will get canceled. Now the question is whether he can get on out here. Stark's going to play on top of the medevacs. One goes down. Second one will not go down here, but that's only 8 units. Only 8 Marines go into that medevac, not much more. So Starkers are going to blink on forward here, chasing the stimmed army. And if the storms get in range, right, that's the scary thing. That's the thing that he has to be really worried about. Although losing medevacs is painful in and of itself. And of course, 18 workers have gone down. Astrea's army is not the biggest at the moment, right? He did lose a war prism. He lost a decent amount of zealots in the main base, but it's for a lot of workers. And as long as this game goes later, Astrea's going to be fine with that. He will have 4 bases. He will actually have 5 bases coming on up. And while his upgrades are a little bit slower, he will have 1-1 around the same time that Gumiho is still on 1-1 because that armory is delayed. Gumiho will have to rebuild his E-base as well. Everything is really just turning up Astrea in this game, outside of the fact that, you know, Gumiho is up 30 army supply in this game. And that does make life a little bit more difficult should Gumiho opt to move out right now. But he's not, because he needs to establish his economy. He can't really afford to just go, oh, looks like he didn't kill the War Prism too. I kind of thought he did. Okay, so 2-2 now underway here for Gumiho. +1 armor just about done, as it looks like we get a little bit of damage here on the right-hand side. The drop's finding something, but he's also going to find that there's a base here, and that cannot make Gumiho happy because he knows he canceled the 4th base that was going on up. But now there's a base where he didn't know there was one. Oof. Now Astrea here. This is interesting, though. He's got +1 air attack on the way. He's adding 1 starport, though. I would expect to see a couple more. And I guess he's going to go on into carriers behind this. I mean, Tempests are rather good against Deliberators, so long as you can take just a prolonged fight. but carriers are just kind of overall good should you get enough upgrades on them. So I'm really curious to see what exactly Astrea is going for with this. This drop will get blinked upon. It will not go down, though. Not enough stalkers there. The cannon's going to get a little bit more damage. Double cannons here means this drop really shouldn't get a lot. Yeah, there we go. So 2 more workers will go down. That's going to be the total extent of things. And I really actually like how Gumiho has opted to play this game. This is really very much shades of how TY played the game on Death Aura against Parting GSL Season 1 of last year when Parting was looking unstoppable in the matchup. He's like, okay, well, I got a turtley-ish map. I'm maybe a little bit behind. I'm just going to get a lot of tanks. I'm going to line them up. I'm going to defend my 3 bases. I'm going to defend my 4 bases. And I'm going to ask you to bleed your resources dry against me. Now, Gumiho is not, or Astrea is not doing that. He's like, okay, well, you're just going to do that. I'm going to play against this as if it was mech. I'm going to expand everywhere. I'm going to get 4 more Stargates, going up to 5 Stargates here to make sure that he can burst out whatever unit he needs. Oh, I like this. The flanking High Templars on the high ground. So if any army moves into the middle map, it's just going to get stormed to all hell. But what here? This begs the question. Okay, it will be carriers. I was thinking it might be Tempest. You know, it might be no way it's Void Rays, but it might be Tempest. As this army will look to go on forward. It scouted that High Templar. There was a scan, so it's like, oh, maybe I can knock that down. But no, Astrea is on top of things. Astrea is paying attention for carriers on the way. We might even want to see Astrea go and bleed off some of this army because, well, he can support 5 carriers at a time in bursts. I mean, not overall, but certainly in bursts here. And that does mean, yeah, Astrea is just looking for an engagement. Not to trade too terribly, but just well enough that he loses some of the army so he can get more carriers and do that. As, of course, we did have a second Cybercore go down as well, so we should see 1 or 2-1 air coming down rather shortly. Storm drops are not going to be all that viable with all these tanks, especially with +1 on the tanks. Any sort of High Templar that gets dropped in vision will immediately go down, but there we go. 5 carriers underway, 2-1 for air underway as well here. Astrea very content to just sit back, take every single base on his side of the map. Yeah, sure, Gumiho has 4 bases now. Astrea has, what is that, 7 bases? Yeah. Astrea has just 7 bases. It's not all that similar. Okay, so now we just have some, looks like some, oh, that's pretty cool. Although the War Prism getting very low there, and the High Templar did die. We saw Storms go down, but really the big deal of that engagement was the feedbacks. A lot of those ghosts had their energy wasted. And that may be useful here if Astrea is looking to move out soon. Which, I mean, maybe. He has a lot of tech underway that's going to finish up in the next minute. So I think we're just going to see him posturing here. Maybe throwing away a couple Zealots, trying to do something. Just be annoying. But anyways, there's going to be a fight happening on in here. Will the splits be good enough? Yeah, now... Oh, actually, one's going to miff its entirety. But those storms are going to be nice here. The army's going to go down. But again, that's just more supply for more carriers that if Astrea does opt to go for that route. Now, what's interesting here is Smart Services underway. And I'm not exactly sure what this is for because it doesn't make tank siege up faster, I don't think. It just makes Vikings transform faster, makes Thors transform faster, and it makes Hellions transform faster. But now all of the carriers are here. EMPs are going to be nice, but the army's not going to be able to stem on top of that. Okay, with the Vikings here, though, that's what you're looking for. And now Gumiho, I don't know exactly what he saw. Maybe he got a scan in the main base that I missed, but he is aware that carriers are going to be hitting the field. And that makes, well, it does mean he will be able to get Vikings now. He will be able to go on in here and build up eventually an army that can fight this Sky army of Astrea. But for the moment, it's not going to be easy as we, once again, Astrea looking to take the fight here. All of the carriers, they're not going to be able to release their interceptors just yet, but now they're going to go on out here. The bio on the ground should go down because, again, these are +2 carriers, and these Marines only have +2 armor. But Astrea rather reticent about taking this engagement as he will lose another High Templar, unfortunately. But it's tank run-bys, and okay, these tanks are just going to be free supply here. But again, Gumiho needs to free up that supply. He needs room for more Vikings. He needs room for more SCVs, in part. But what he really needs to do, he just needs a little bit more flexibility in his army. These tanks are not going to be all that useful against these carriers, so he's just building Vikings and getting rid of their tanks as he can. As we have +3 air attack on the way, +2 air armor on the way, and shields. This is an extremely heavily upgraded army here from Astrea, and it's only getting more so. Now we have a fight coming on, and if these storms land on top of the Vikings, that's going to be really significant. Those storms are going to be... They're not going to kill the Vikings. But they're doing a damn good job of doing damage to them. As the Zealots look to run on in, they're not going to get a lot. And what I'm wondering here is, at what point does Astrea opt to go and move into something that is not carriers? Or has he just hit his critical mass of carriers and that's all he's getting Sky Toss for? That's a very real possibility. I'm kind of in the back of my head, I'm thinking maybe Tempest are potentially a good idea so they can outtrade the Vikings, because of course Vikings outrange carriers, Tempests do outrange Vikings with proper micro. But I gotta say, this game, regardless of how it ends up, this is an impressive game from Gumiho, right? He was down a lot. He had his third base killed, then he lost a bunch of workers. And now he's here. He has solidly 4 bases. He's got his 5th base underway. It is actually a planetary, so he pretty much solidly has 5 bases at this point. He has the economy he needs. The income advantage has pretty much returned back to someone that is approaching a more normal game. And nice feedback there on top of the Ghost. And now once again, Astrea, he's looking to take the fight here. Storm's on top of all the Vikings, and Archons are underneath it. The Vikings are going down, and that gives the carriers free range here. One carrier, it's going low, but it's not dead yet. And this army from Gumiho is falling off. This was the one engagement that Astrea needed, as the base is going to go down as well. The carriers are fighting heavily in the sky. How many interceptors? Still 26 interceptors on the map. GG Astrea said, look, you 2-0'd me last week. Not this week, not today. I'm going to take the game, and he will move on to the round of 32.